Okay, this is how I change a bearing in my quadcopter. I've looked into changing bearings for a long time, and it's just plain difficult if you don't have the right tool. So I make my own tools. I bought a shaft. This actually isn't the right shaft, but it is the right diameter. So it works for what I have to do. Now, I also bought a bunch of these. This is the smallest out of all of them. The smallest size. I can't remember exactly what size it is. I think it's 1/8. But it's actually a little bit too big. I actually have to grind it down every single time I want to change a bearing. But it doesn't take too much grinding. So I put it in my Dremel and I grind right here, this side, so that it'll fit in the hole all the way. Or you don't have to fit it all the way down. I put it like a little bit more than halfway in the hole. It doesn't really, as long as it's not all the way down, it should be fine. And then I squeeze it with the tool, the rivet gun. I try not to squeeze it all the way so that I still have the little nail stuck in there. And then I try to pull it out with pliers. One time I pulled it out by hand pretty easily because it wasn't too stiff. But if I can't pull it out by hand, then once the rivet is in there, I stick this in the other side, like so. I'll stick it in there, and I'll just hit it with a hammer. I actually just like hold this in my hand when I hit it because it doesn't take a lot of power to hit it. It might take a few taps, and you might have to go fast with the taps, but in a few taps it comes right out. And that's how I do the top bearing. And oftentimes the top bearing is the only one that goes bad. So yeah, it's not a big deal. Of course, after you change a bearing, you want to check to make sure that your motor doesn't vibrate in clean flight. So with the blade off, you want to spin it up, give it a good test. But this was a successful bearing change. I only did the top bearing, and also when I press it in, I stick the shaft through the one that's about to be pressed and the bottom one so that it's perfectly straight up and down, my spare shaft. And what I do is I stick it up from the bottom and then I use a drill press to press the bearing in, and I find a socket that's the exact size of the outer race, and then I push it in. If it's not the exact size, you won't push it in far enough, or you'll hit the inner race. If you hit the inner race, it's done for. If you don't push it in far enough, the shaft won't be able to be connected. If my camera will focus, the shaft won't connect. I mean, it won't go deep enough for you to put the C-clip on. So it has to go in all the way, and you'll feel it go in all the way. As soon as it stops, I try one more push, and that's it. It's in all the way. And I've had no problems with that. I've actually tried a few different brands of bearings before I found the actual Emax bearings on emax.com for $2. So I tried Cobra bearings in this motor, and it actually sounds a little different than the other motors. The Cobra one is a tiny bit louder, actually, but it feels like it free spins a little better. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say which one is better. Also, I grinded down the top of my shafts because I don't need them to be excessively tall, when I crash it, they tend to hit on the shaft. And the taller the shaft is, the more leverage it has to bend or break. So I shave them down a bit. And that really works for me. So that's a successful bearing change for me. I just tested the vibration earlier, and it's not bad. Not bad at all.